Hey everybody, I'm outside at my old piano and I just wanted to share a quick song idea before I go in the house and give a talk. Now, I had this funny song going through my head for quite some time and I really haven't had a chance to work it out on this keyboard, but I thought it'd be fun someday to maybe put together a band. And the bass player is going. Have, you know, little piano in it, maybe have a brass section, some backup singers, and it basically goes, ooh, that curly Q, let me tell you about that curly Q, ooh, that curly Q, let me tell you about that curly Q. Talk about curly Q. Anyways, that's just me goofing around a little bit here because it's too hot and you know, I gotta get in out of the sun. I just really wanted to introduce my topic today of having compassion for curly Q. Now, it's kind of an inside joke. It probably isn't going to make sense to a whole lot of people unless you've known me long enough, right? So I'm going to explain my little joke. Now, the problem with me is I do have kind of an obscure sense of humor, and, you know, maybe, you know, when I give something too much thought, you know, I come up with stuff like this. But anyways, let me start out by explaining where this is coming from. Okay, so I've been doing a series of videos called the JodyVision. So I created a playlist to really cover the topic of, you know, that I've been going in a visionary state through part of my childhood and through part of my 20s. I don't really have it so much anymore, so now it's kind of something I can look at in hindsight. But so, like, if you're new to this conversation, you have to watch the other videos, but I'm going to briefly recap that in 1982, I was starting to go into visionary state where I met a couple named Rosie and Howard. I would actually make friends with Rosie. I came to Montana to live with her, and I knew her for the rest of her life, okay? And, she was taking care of a little boy named Billy, and they told me this is somebody who I'm going to know when I get older. So someday we'll be married and playing in a band. So anyway, she explained all this stuff about him. And the thing I remembered about Billy was that he was just so happy to meet me, you know, so I'm in a visionary state experience, but I didn't know I was having these until I got much older. Okay, so is that he just seemed so happy to see me. And the thing about Billy is, you know, he just kind of sat there with this big smile, and he kind of had his hair growing out a little bit with some curly hair in the back. Now, I did this sketch recently. It might be an over-exaggeration, but it's just to show the cuteness factor. Like, he seems kind of bashful. He kind of looks down at you and peeks out like this, and just seeming to be so happy to meet me. Anyways, I wanted to explain that, so I saw this little boy. He was supposed to be my boyfriend, so it's always been my idea of maybe the cutest boyfriend I ever had. Kind of remembered like conversations with my sister, who's the cutest boyfriend you ever had, and I thought, well, maybe it was Billy, you know. So I remembered Billy. It was like, you know, it was kind of like my first boyfriend after I moved someplace new. So I moved to the Florida Keys in '82. A couple of weeks after the school season started. So I was like 6 years old, but I was still in kindergarten. I kind of got a late start. And so I didn't really make friends very easy. So I remembered him because it was like the first friend I could make outside of, you know, my sister and my cousins. It was somebody who, I don't know, I guess he was my boyfriend. So I was kind of young to be interested in guys, but I thought of it as my first boyfriend. And he was also the person I got in a fist fight with. And so he was memorable, even though I didn't see him very often. It seemed like, you know, when we did meet, you know, there was always this urgency to please don't forget who I am, or, you know, we'll never see each other again. And so I saw him a number of times when I was 6 years old. And I think, you know, more like 83, you know, we were going to, my parents had a friend, Bill and Stella, living on the Navy base. It seemed like they took care of Billy sometimes. And when I went over there, I had a pretty profound vision that I saw myself from 1983. I saw myself in 2010. So in 2010, I relived an era where I had time traveled about 5 different times, and kind of went over that in like about a month time, and it was really heavy hitting. And so like at the end of 5th grade and early 6th grade, I seen Billy, you know, for the last time as a kid, you know, with that same urgency, please don't forget who I am. But then we had discovered his band. So this is Billy, but Frontline Assembly, and it's an embarrassing story because it seems like I was kind of encouraged to seek him out, you know. So like I would say by 83, I know I was just turned 18 that year, and when my dad handed me this magazine article, it had a picture of Billy by the front. Not this picture, a different picture. It seemed more like, you know, he had, I don't know if it was like in a thinking position. But, you know, looking at that picture, I'm like, this can't be Billy, because I thought he said that's my little friend from down the street, and it's like, that can't be, he's too old. So just thought, this guy looks like he's in his 30s, and I thought Billy was a couple of years older. But it's like, I thought about it and thought about it. It's like, now these are definitely the same person, because I remember what he said. It's kind of like that New Order song, Blue Monday. Let me see, how does it feel to treat me like you do? So you laid your hands upon me and told me who you are. I thought I was mistaken, and I thought I heard your words. You know, so I'm pretty sure Billy said, you know, that he would be the same person, and I even said, you know, Frontline Assembly, and the adults were talking about it, and, you know, so I always kind of like had a funny feeling it might be the same person, but like maybe it was just a coincidence. So that's where, you know, a lot of people want to tell me, what if it was just a coincidence? What if it was just your imagination? So I've given all that stuff thought, and it's not. And so so here's how I learned it. So after I moved to Denver, I'd say 98, 99 into 2000, I started getting more of these visions. And so in one of my visionary slips, it was like Rosie gave me a phone call, and we had a pretty good conversation. You know, it was pretty interesting, some of the stuff she told me. So but one of the important points she made is like, if I ever want to see, you know, she's like, you have a soulmate, he's known you all your life, and if you ever want to see him again, you have to write him. So she was implying that Billy and Billy might be the same person, but she didn't really come out and say it. But there seemed to be a strong enough indication that I started putting it together. And that's why I wrote him, because like I just felt like I don't want to do this because this is going to be embarrassing. So I've always been afraid that this would be embarrassing, or you know, he's not going to be interested in me. So I already had those ideas, you know. And so when people try to coach me, it's like, well, Jody, don't think, you know, you can go talk to somebody this popular and expect anything good to come out of it, pretty much. And so it went a lot worse than it should have, in my opinion. I think, you know, there are a lot of things that I've shared over the past several videos about this period. I call it the crazy making experience. I just felt like it was making me look crazy, and it was driving me crazy by doing so. But at the same time, I was experiencing a major revelation of the time travel, visionary state time travel stuff by, you know, the beginning of November 99. I did a time trip all the way to the end of January 2000. So maybe about what, 2.5 months or so into the future. But then I was there to the beginning of summer that year of 2000. Then I woke up back in November, because by June, I tried to move out of that apartment because I kind of get scared away by thinking, you know, this was actually on a haunted house tour every Halloween, so there's, you know, psychic activity in this house. So I'm kind of recapping on this stuff in case you haven't heard my conversation. But if you have, it's just to tie it all together, is where I've discovered I'm having a supernatural thing happening to me. So 99 and 2000 is where I realized that I go into visionary state, and I'm being shown, you know, the ability to time travel. You can see the future. You can know things that are remote to you by astral travel. You can know things that are remote to you by time travel in the visionary state. Now, I don't know if time travel can happen in the physical, but definitely in a visionary state, it's akin to being out of body, because it's like part of your, you know, we experience conscious presence in our body when we're awake, but if you're asleep or out of your body, you know, let's say you're in astral travel, or, you know, in the act of remote viewing through kind of like I was talking about 9/11 when that happened. I kind of witnessed it as a remote viewer because it was like I was out of body. But to go to the future is a little bit like remote viewing by, you know, having your conscious presence extended into the future. And so that's where a lot of us experience deja vu. It's because it's like you have this antenna that's out there in front of you that senses the future, or you know, so somehow, you know, even average people get these glimpses of the future and they feel like they're reliving a same experience for the second time at least. Well, for me, you know, catching up to the end of January and going on and on, it was like every day I felt like I've been there before. So this is what's really important. But somehow, you know, we took in this poor guy, Bill. I really feel bad that he had to come into the conversation. So maybe, you know, it was just a good person for me to use, or to, you know, to be, not for me to use, but for the visionary, you know, whatever these beings are, the extraterrestrials, we don't know. So I'm still learning it. So that's where, you know, I don't have it all figured out, you know. So like, it's still kind of interesting because, you know, so I know it's there, but I don't know how to explain it. But the part that's really difficult is the part where you're putting this person in my face and saying, this is somebody that loves you, and this type of thing. So in the visions, it was a cute little boy that loved me. So let me show you here. In the vision, I was introduced to this cute little boy named Billy, you know, and that's the best I could do to draw him at the time. So maybe like a few years or so ago. And I did this one too. It's kind of for fun, you know. That's just to give you an idea what his hair looked like to me. So I really had a hard time identifying Bill because I remembered him with his hair growing out like that the most. And so when I caught up with him, you know, he looked a little bit different because he's older and stuff. So it took a number of things to really get me to see the semblance, you know. And so I think, so in the 2000, you know, I started realizing these are only visionary slips. You know, this isn't, you know, like Billy probably has absolutely no idea what's going on. And so I've been trying to like figure out exactly why this is going on. And so there's like a number of possibilities that I can explore here, but I think it's very important is that somehow it was helping to fill me with compassion. And I say that because of the way my life is gone. I feel like somebody who has lost the ability to really love other people. Is very difficult for me to care about other people, even though I think I'm generally a friendly person. It's like I just can't see myself, you know, really wanting to take care of somebody or paying that much attention to somebody. And I remember, I guess as a teenager, my mom coming up and saying something like, Jody, you don't know what it's like to really love anybody, you know? So she recognized that, and I think she's correct. And so it's kind of like talking about my experience with guys and all this stuff. I feel like, you know, I had sex with somebody, and after they got me pregnant, find out they're telling other people, I wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. All I get is put down by men, you know. And so I feel like I lived a life where my ability to love was being kind of squashed, you know. It's like my heart is just this tiny little, kind of like the Grinch, you know, if you ever seen that cartoon or that story, you know. And somehow, you know, like, Billy helps wake up my heart, you know. I feel like that's what it was doing at the time. So this is where I think it's helping me to cultivate compassion. So that's why I wanted to call my story, my topic today, Compassion for a Curly Q. Now, now here's the thing is, you know, I guess if you're a fan, if you're somebody that's been listening to a Frontline Assembly, you're probably not going to say, you know what I like about Bill Lee? Well, I like his curly Qs. Ha! But the reason I think it's funny is because it's kind of like, if you've ever seen that Harry Potter movie, he was being taught to get rid of spooky beings. You know, if there are spooky beings coming, you kind of call them something funny, you know, and then they turn into something funny, and that handles, because I think, you know, when I started realizing Billy and Billy might be the same person, I thought this can't be Billy because, you know, they're the wrong age. I could tell this is an older man, but I also thought Bill sounds like a really scary person, okay? You know, it kind of reminds me, you know, like, it's an angry person that you don't want to deal with, and like, it seems like the older he gets, the even scarier he sounds. So, you know, my little joke is that Billy is a big spooky dragon breath. So maybe, you know, me calling him a curly Q is my way of making light of heavy matter. So at any rate, the compassion I have is because when I see him at the right angle and the right light, you know, I realize him and Billy are the same person, you know. And so there's another song that comes to mind. I can't remember how to sing it, but it says something, I'm in love with the shape of you. And it's kind of more like a, people that listen to rap music, you know, it's kind of like a ballad. I'm in love with the shape of you. Because, you know, they're probably talking about they love the woman because she's sexy. But to me, it's like, sometimes when I see him in the right angle and the right lighting, you know, like I was watching some older video of their concert, and you know, and I just saw the way he was standing there, you know, and he had, you know, like an undercut, but he also had like a part mohawk. It was almost like an indecisive haircut, like, do you want an undercut or a mohawk? But the back, it's kind of curly, you know, and I could just see, you know, just looking at the shape of his face and his eyes. And then when I went to see Delirium in 2003, he let his hair grow out, and I've never seen him like that. You know, when I go to their shows, he usually has an undercut, or really, you know, he cuts his hair off, and you wouldn't know Bill Lee had curly Qs if I didn't tell you, or if you didn't make it to this particular show or see him on that tour. You know, so it's something that you rarely ever see, just because of the way he, you know, his hair is mostly curly in the back, and that's usually the part he cuts off, right? So anyways, I went to see Delirium in 2003, so, and this is actually probably one of the best times I had going to a concert with him performing there. So I saved my ticket. Now I made some jokes, you know, about, you know, I was saying how you rarely ever see Billy with his hair growing out, because he usually, you know, gets like an undercut or uses a lot of hair gel. So I made this little joke about Bill's hair, and that what if he ran out of hair stuff, man? It's like so close to showtime, there's no hair stuff left. Oh my goodness. And he's like, oh, I know. So Bill decides to stick his finger in a light socket, okay? We're out of hair junk, so what you do, you just stick your finger in a light socket. That'll fix it. And now, so I don't know if he's ever worn his hair exactly like that. I think it's not the best drawing of Bill, but it is and it ain't. But we, you know, if you listen to Frontline Assembly, you've probably never seen Bill come out with his hair like that. He's a I was thinking, you know, it'd be the best prank on Bill Lee if I could get everybody to start saying curly Q. And like, okay, so next time you go to his concert, you know, I hope there's enough people that get my message. That song I was singing on the piano, remember that song? Ooh, that curly Q, let me tell you about that curly Q. Ooh, doo doo doo. Now, anyways, I want to talk about that concert a little bit. It was really one of the best times I've ever had. You know, like going to one of their shows. I actually had a good time at all the shows I went to, you know, but you know, some of the stuff that happened after the show, like when we went to the Cafe Netherworld, that's where I'm talking about the, you know, the way the social aspect of that music scene really sucks, you know. It's like it just made, you know, I just feel like what I've discovered, you know, because I moved to Denver in '95 hoping to find like my people, or the people that like industrial music, and what's happened is it's kind of merged with the goth scene, and it's a lot like being in high school, you know. It's like a popularity contest, and it's like the jocks and the cheerleaders, and you know, so I kind of I wanted to meet Bill Lee because, you know, I had these visions and all this stuff, and that's why I went to meet him, and I mentioned that in my letter, and so I thought that just made really good ammunition. Like, okay, now Jody's this crazy person that's trying to get my husband in bed. So, like, I found out years later what it was about. So I've talked about that a lot in those videos. And so it was like a really crushing experience because, like, I got accused of things that aren't fair. And then the very next year, you know, I think I had a good time at the show. But then when it came out, there were some people trying to bully me over it, you know, like they're trying to punish me for what I've done wrong. But then all these visions caught up, and I went through the time trip and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know, and then I ended up probably, I think I was going on Mind Phaser and trying to talk about it, and, you know, just for fun, like, sometimes I like to say stuff to test people, you know, and kind of, you know, if they're not reacting, you know, maybe I'll get a little, like, say something really off color and inappropriate if I have to, you know. And so I was talking about how Bill Lee's such a hot, sexy rock star, and I just wanted to get him in bed, you know. So I was just really making a mockery of all that type of mentality, you know. But like, I don't really think that way. I'm not interested in meeting a hot, sexy rock star. And that's where I kind of hate, you know, the accusations and stuff like that. But like, but at any rate, because I was joking around and like kind of making all these type of comments, somebody eventually, I mean, it took me to like probably 3 years past, I don't know if it took 3 or 4 years, you know, since I actually met the woman to find out, oh, that was Bill's wife? Okay, so he's married, you know, like, why didn't they just say so? Which, so later on, you know, I got in touch with Carol Ann and she explained it to me, like they were supposed to make it secret because that way if they think he's single, that people buy his records more or something. So that's where I feel like, you know, I talk about that phase, you know, like I felt like I was meeting Bill at a major turning point in his life. So, and it just felt like a major disconnect. Like I think the very next album they did, like it was called Implode. So Implode was like the very first time I bought a Frontline Assembly album, and I really didn't like it. Like maybe I liked it a little bit, but not a lot. And I just feel like ever since then, like his music hasn't had the same grip on me. You know, like I used to listen to them over and over and over, but then after that, he was putting out music. Like even that Delirium Karma, like at first I didn't like it because it was so normal, but it's really well done. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like, they're using all the same techniques that you need to make like industrial music and techno music, but they're using it to make, you know, more of a, the yin to the yang, you know. So if you've been listening to Frontline Assembly Noise Unit, I think that's more yang style. I feel it has more, you know, fighting spirit in it, and, you know, more of a masculine energy, whereas Delirium is more to do with a feminine energy and spiritual stuff, which is to do with love. So that's why there's a lot of songs related to the subject matter of love, because that is spiritual. So I think even Bill Leeb says Frontline Assembly stands for the meeting of minds, you know. So meeting of minds is more to the masculine, and the heart is more to the feminine. So when we put these two together and have them work together, you're a more complete person and a more complete artist. And so we have to do the same thing in every other aspect. Like, so I do martial arts, and I think it's very important to understand how we put together the intellect and we put together the spiritual. So anyways, I want to do other talks about how how this works, you know. So when I went to see Delirium, it was such a good time. And Bill Lee, so I think before that they had Conjure One, so that's Reese Fulbers, his partner, his version of Delirium. Like when he writes music like this, he's like I really think he's a master as a musician and as a producer, and did a pretty good job with that. You know, really enjoyed a few tracks like Manic Star. I really like Manic Star. I actually prophesied about Manic Star and shared that in another video. But so I went over to his end of the stage and watched him play, and when he plays the keyboard, it looks like he just like pets it and makes it purr, you know, like he's like all over it, like he probably doesn't even have to think what he's playing. He's just like, he's really awesome to watch play the keyboard. And then so when it was time for Delirium, I went around to the other side of the stage because that's where Bill had his keyboard station. And it looked like he had like a lot of loops and samples and maybe some drum sounds like the cymbal smash on the end. And they played a pretty good set. You know, I really like stuff that's more danceable, you know. So like, I like that electronic dance sound in many forms, you know, that comes in. And so, and I found like a really cool kind of Nepalese type of outfit to wear. And so something I do when I listen to music is I like to kind of do like a type of shadow boxing that try to what you call interpret the music. So I like to interpret the music, and so there's kind of like halfway between dancing and doing Tai Chi. So I call it Tai Chi dancing. And trying to keep rhythm, trying to make sure that the movements kind of express the music, that type of thing. And so if I get the right music and I really get moving, I like to think that what I'm doing is I'm kind of like, I'm building up energy. Now there's been a couple of people who can see auras, and when they saw me do this, they could tell me, you know, Jody. So here's an example. Like, so I was hanging out with my friend Janet McMahon down in Denver, and I think I had some music, and I was showing her how I dance around. It's kind of like combining Kung Fu and music, you know, dancing and Kung Fu. And when I do that, it made my aura get really kind of heavy. And my aura was really getting visible, and you could see like an iridescent type of movement, like between being iridescent and golden and all this, and just like, wow, Jody, you know, because I'm always a little bit heavy. She's like, I can't believe how light on your feet you are, and that you're making your energy like this. Well, one day I was hanging out with another friend, my friend Kim, and I didn't have the music, but I was just kind of doing some shadow boxing, just some energy play, shadow boxing, like Tai Chi style. And similarly, she said, whoa, Jody, I can see your aura. It's just really, you know, it's just really blown up. I can see the iridescence and the gold in it and everything. So when I move like that, it makes energy, and other people benefit or respond to it sometimes. And so, you know, since I was up in the corner here, I think after a while, Bill Lee might have actually caught on. I think I started getting into the music, and I was really able to get the energy moving. And I think, you know, he was over here just playing his keyboard, doing his job, you know, and he was just sort of, as a matter of fact, you know, he wasn't really getting down a whole lot, just kind of looked like he was just doing his job. But then he looked over at me, looked away, and then he looked back. And it seemed like the rest of the show, it seemed like Bill was more spirited. Like, I felt like he was dancing with me a little, like I was kind of helping encourage him to dance, you know. So, I mean, I like to think that that's what made it a fun night, is I felt like he was able to see what I was doing with my energy, and on some level, it changed his energy. It was helping him to be elevated for a moment with me, and I kind of felt like he would hit that cymbal smash on the end of the keyboard and look right at me, you know, like he was having a little bit of fun thanks to me. But, you know, the other people in the audience were also getting off on it, and so one of the vocalists, when she was off stage, she came over to me and got my attention, and she, you know, she was kind of like up this little flight of stairs, kind of leaning out to me, kind of, come here, I need to say something to you. And she leaned down and she said, wow, you've got this whole area dancing right around you. And so I really appreciate that, because I think she noticed, like, most of the audience was probably just hanging out, but everybody like around me was like dancing more than everybody else, you know. So that was a fun night, because I felt like, you know, I've done this number of times, you know, maybe when I go into the club, if they get the music right, I can do that same thing, you know. So it really, it's something I do that I really think, you know, I actually bring in energy and share it with people by dancing like that, you know. And so I think that's something that would go good towards my actual music as well, being able to feel that energy and share it through music and all that. Anyway, I think that was one of the best times I ever had, you know. A lot, like I've never experienced anything like that any other time, feeling that connection with Bill, and being able to get the people around me at the same time. But I'd say in 2007, you know, I was in a mosh pit there, and I really felt like I was helping other people kind of give them energy, and they were kind of getting off on it too. But we were further out from the stage, so I'm not sure if Bill was aware of what was going on in there. But that was probably one of the best times I've ever had going to see Frontline Assembly. So 2007, there's a picture behind me of me and Bill where we're hanging out at the church, the club, after the show, and somebody had a camera. I was like, take our picture. So I'm really glad I had that picture, because it was really the best time with Frontline Assembly. But the Delirium and Conjure One show, that was the best time I had to go and see Delirium, and it was perfect for those guys, because Boulder's a college town, and it was a Friday night. And so there were a lot of people that were just hanging out looking for something to do. And for 15 bucks, I mean, you know, people pay like anywhere between $15, $20 just to go into a club on a good night, you know, on a busy night. So really a good bargain to see, you know, two great masters, you know, with their own projects. You know, it couldn't have been a better price. So inevitably they sold out that show that night. But anyways, what I really wanted to talk about was how this is something where, like, I'm kind of been coaxed into doing something I normally wouldn't do, and I normally wouldn't even pay that much attention to this guy, except, you know, if you look back at what I've been sharing about the Visionary State, and how and I was introduced to him in the form of a little boy with, you know, soft curly hair. So I mentioned in my last video, it's kind of like the movie Star Wars. So, like, you know, if you saw Star Wars for the first time when you were growing up in the 80s, then you only knew Anakin as Darth Vader. But later on, you know, they did these sequels, and you see what he was like before he became Darth Vader, and he was a cute little boy, and everybody, you know, was a lovable, adorable kid, you know, and until he had tragedy in his life, right? So I don't know what happened in Bill Leib's life. Like, I know so much about him, but somehow, you know, as the viewer, you know, if you've watched those movies, it gives you more compassion for Darth Vader than you would have otherwise. You'd always think he was just this big spooky guy that's no good if you hadn't seen Anakin. So I'm kind of thinking, you know, maybe having those visions about Billy, it gives me a special kind of compassion for Bill Leib. Now, what I was going to say about the resemblance of Bill Leib and Billy is after the show, they had, the whole place was cleared out, and there was just a line forming around by the table where they're going to have an autograph signing. And so I walked back there, and I saw Bill Leib and Reese Fulber standing there. They had their backs to me, and they were facing the stage. And it was so cute. It was like Bill was standing here, and then Reese was standing here, and Bill just had his arm around Reese on his shoulder. And I'm like, why didn't I have a camera? That was a beautiful picture of those two guys. They're like, you know, old friends from way back when, and I think Reese Fulber's been a very significant person in his life, you know, as a partner in the music business and everything. And man, I just really wish I had a photograph, but at least I have it in my mind. But Bill Leib was standing there with his curly cues, and it's like I could just see the resemblance, you know, like the hair color and everything, just how he shaped and everything, you know. And so when I had a chance to talk to him, I felt really nervous because I'm like, I realize he's the same person, but since I've learned, you know, he's a married man, like I understand, you know, I was just thinking I would really like to discuss you, like, I remember you from these visions, you know. So I asked him, is there any way, you know, we could sit down and I could talk to you about these visions? And he said, no, I'm not up to it. And I thought, okay, you know, can I was trying to ask for a, may I? And he said, may you what? And I said, okay, then can I shake your hand? And so I tried to shake his hand, and I just figured, you know, I will respect his wishes if he doesn't feel like talking to me. At that point, you know, he pretty much said no. And then I tried to find my way home. I gave him a phone number to call, and my phone died, so I don't know if he tried the phone number or not, you know. So it kind of makes me wonder. It's kind of like a Cinderella story, like if this was a misconnection. But I just figured, you know, the guy's married, so like if he was coming into my visions, it could be for another reason. Now here's the effect it has, is, you know, meeting Billy in the visionary state and having that kind of effect. I mean, like, I thought he was the cutest boyfriend I ever had, you know. Like, I swear to God, it must have been like before we moved out of that place on Gulf Drive. So they changed, so the road we moved to when we first moved to Florida was Gulf Drive, and that's where we were living when I had that little boyfriend. So like, I'm just thinking I must have been about 12 or so. Me and my sister were hanging out talking girl stuff, and she said, who's the cutest boyfriend you ever had? And I was thinking, well, it could have been Juan Long, but I think Billy was cuter, you know, because Juan Long was he grew up to be a good-looking guy too, you know. He was, for a Cuban guy, like, I'm not really into Cubans, but he was a good-looking Cuban boy. But he had kind of like light hair, kind of like Billy, so he was somebody that I talked about in previous videos. But I realized last time I saw Billy in my visions that he was definitely, like, I wasn't sure if it was Juan or not, but when he explained everything, I'm like, he's definitely not Juan. Billy's cuter than Juan. So, you know, I've always liked boys that resemble Billy. Like in first grade, there was this little boy named Timothy, and he had really straight hair, but it was that same color, and I couldn't stop looking at his hair because it reminded me of Billy. So, so Timothy and Bronson caught me looking, and so they started teasing me. So they stood there, or they turned around in their seats, and they just stared me down until I was begging them to stop, you know. And so I started ducking down under my desk, and my teacher actually had me sent to a counselor over this, so it was pretty memorable. So if anybody knows me, that's why I, you know, cause they caught me staring at Timmy because he reminded me of Billy. And let me see, I think there were other boys that I liked because they reminded me of Billy. Like there was a kid named John in 7th grade. I kind of liked him because he had that curly hair, but I realized, I kept thinking, I like him because he reminds me of Billy. So, like, I shouldn't take an interest in someone because they remind me of somebody else, you know. And it seems like the boys I liked were always similar. Like, I remember, like, being a kid and chatting with my sister, what kind of boys do you like? Well, I always want to meet, like, I always like these tall dudes with spiky blonde hair. That's what I told her. And I thought, well, Billy kind of had like curly hair. So I guess in real life, you get the best of both worlds. Because when you see Billy lately, he's had kind of like blonde spiky hair. So I like these tall skinny guys with blonde spiky hair. There's been a couple different guys I like, you know, these tall guys with spiky hair, you know. So, like, I've always kind of liked people that resemble them. But here's the thing, you know, I was a cab driver. I was living in Greeley and driving to Denver. And, you know, I just decided to get a late start. And I was driving down to Denver in the middle of the night. And I saw this guy, like, you know, I don't know. I think seeing him walking on the side of the highway. And he had those curly cues, kind of like Billy, made me feel compassion enough to stop and pick him up. And he was somebody who got let out of prison in the middle of the night and hit the bar on the way home. So he also had beer breath. And I said, to be honest, you know, like, when I saw you walking down the side of the road, you remind me of somebody I knew a long time ago. So it kind of made me want to help you. And he was a good passenger. I gave him a free ride all the way down to like someplace in Aurora, like southeast Aurora. So kind of a long free trip, you know. Because I felt a little compassion for another human being that reminds me of somebody I like. So I feel like that that compassion I get, you know, like maybe that's not a good example, but, you know, maybe that's something that could have got me in trouble. It's something where, like, maybe, you know, being able to see the Billy and Bill Lieb, you know, gives me a little extra compassion because I see what he was like when he was a kid, if it's even accurate, you know. Seeing that curly hair, something where, like, I kind of wonder, like, if we reincarnate, if we've known each other in a past life. And my little joke has been, what if I was his grandma in a past life? Because, like, I feel like he's somebody that no matter what he does, I would always have compassion for him. Like, I would never abandon him for his mistakes. And so I kind of made some jokes about how I felt like I'm being blown off, you know, and being treated like I'm not a very desirable person. But at the same time, he's been more accepting to people that are really just mean and hateful towards me, you know, and they show me their bad side. So it's something where, like, most people would say, you know, you really shouldn't, you know, try to be friends with somebody like this. This is obviously somebody who doesn't speak well of you behind your back, you know. So he probably says something to these people. That's why they say things like that to me. But then when I talk to him, it's like he never says those type of things. It's like that. So it's very frustrating. And, like, so I was made to feel compassion for this person and try to seek him out. And so by the time I seen him in 2003, I still didn't know all this stuff about him. Like, I was still, so, like, later on in life, you know, like after I moved to Montana and stuff, I came in contact with a number of people. So there was a situation and a lot of information where I learned a lot of stuff about Bill that I don't like. That most people would just, you know, think is the best idea to just walk away and never bother with these people again. Like, it seems like it's had a very negative impact in my life. It's very depressing for me, and I feel like it's something that's, like, ruined my reputation and it makes me look bad. But even then, I still wish, you know, there'd come a day that, like, you know, me and Bill would be friends, at least have a friendship. And so I'm in a process of accepting that it may never happen at the way we're going. Like, when I look at what's going on now and look at what's going on then, this is something where I don't understand why I'm being coaxed into meeting somebody that doesn't want anything to do with me. Because Billy was somebody who really loved me, and he really begged me to, well, I'm going to say he implored, you know, it was very urgent to try to remember him. We'd never see each other again. But in actually finding him and you know, trying to reach out to him and all the things that have happened, it almost seems like it's been a big waste of energy. So that's why I've spent so much time, you know, trying to process and contemplating this, to where I feel like I have an unusual amount of compassion for Bill Lee, because he's somebody that hasn't really done anything for me other than he's polite to me. So that way, you know, he looks like he's innocent because he's always been polite up to the last minute. So even though he wanted to let me know he's not happy with something I've done, he was really polite about it. But the only thing I really get out of coming in contact with him and his I don't know, his social system or whatever, is I feel put down and hurt by it, and I just don't see anything positive coming out of it, because that's why I'm confused, because it's like this visionary state experience was helping me to see the little boy inside the person that I probably normally wouldn't want to, you know, go out of my way to make friends with somebody like that, you know. And he seems like a scary person. He sounds like somebody that doesn't really care very much about me, you know. And if you know, whether I live or not, I really think he could care less if he ever sees me or hears from me again. I feel like it's somebody that, like, I honestly think that if I died, he'd be glad that I would quit bothering him. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is somebody that just makes me feel so bad, you know? And that's why I've been thinking, you know, by the time I move out of this house and go on to the next phase of my life, I really want to get this person out of my head, because they don't care about me. And so that's where it's like, why should I care about him? Like, why am I being asked, you know, to care about this person? And, you know, I really want to answer those requests, like that little kid in my vision. I really want to answer his request and not forgetting about him and all that, and being there for him later on in life. That's what I've talked about, like, you know, I met him in the same vision as Rosie, and we actually met each other in the same year. So I've had to look at the contrast of how I value each of these people's relationship with me. You know, so Rosie's somebody I met in a visionary state when I was 6 years old as well. And so I met her in 96. We stayed in touch. I moved up here in 2009. And I knew her for the last 13 years of her life. And she became a close friend of mine. It's like adopted family. And I've inherited all of her stuff. And I've been dealing with, like, I've been in this house just trying to, like, do something with all the stuff that her and her boyfriend left here. You know, because they were like adopted family to me. And so I should value my relationship with Rosie much more than the relationship with Bill, which is more of an acquaintance, because she's somebody that gives me, you know, like a more positive attitude. It makes me feel like, you know, I have a good reason to be here. I'm a good person and there's a lot of good I can do. But I feel like all I get out of Bill Lieb is it just sort of drains me. I feel like it makes me feel bad. And I think, you know, I got nothing to live for. So that's where, you know, what we're dealing with are people that have kind of mentality of supremacy. I feel like when I come around like these women and stuff, like trying to talk down to me, and even him kind of politely undermining me, I just feel like all these people have is an attitude of supremacy. And so this is where I want to clarify the difference between, you know, what makes you superior to me or not. And I think what made Rosie such a special person to me was that she lifts me up. You know, she was somebody who loved me, and she helped me to fill my heart more. Now, Bill Lieb has helped me to fill my heart in a different way, right? He hasn't been there for me. It's been depressing, actually, trying to come in contact with him, but he's still something in him that fills my heart, see? There's something about him that brings that out of me, and that's probably something that nobody else in the world can relate to. Not even the people who've known him can relate to this. Because no matter what disappointment I had, I felt that I still cared about him to this day. That if he was somebody that showed up here and said, you know what, I've always cared about you too, he would be more than welcome at any point to call me or show up at my house unannounced. He's always welcome here, even though I'm saying, like, maybe this is something I need to get off my mind because it's not good for me. But things can change, you know, like if it was something that had a positive outcome, I'd be happier with that than never see him again, you know. So, like, I like to think he's next in line, like, so I was somebody that I feel like I helped enable Rosie to do as much as she could to the end of her life, you know. I feel like if Bill Lieb was like Rosie, by any chance, if he was somebody that did love me, even if it was just like friends, you know, just somebody that, like, I really love Jody and I've always wanted to, you know, I don't know, be good to her, be her friend or whatever. And just somebody that's just happy to see me. You know, he'd known me the rest of my life and he'd get my help too. So now that's the trick, is adoration, adorability. I was kind of talking to Rosie about how some baby animals are so cute. Now, if everything in nature has a purpose, then why are baby animals in some cases so cute, like baby duckies and puppies and kittens? And she said, well, because it makes their mothers love them. So there's a force in nature that makes us adorable and beautiful in another's eye. So like, why do you look out at, you know, a bunch of rocks sticking up out of the ground with some foliage on it and think it's beautiful? There's something in us that makes us look at nature and think it's beautiful. There's something in us, like, you know, your child is like this short, fat, bald person that shits his pants. But there's something in the mother that makes them see their child and say, man, he's just so adorable. I'll do anything for my baby. And that's what's happening with Billy Lieb, the curly Q. Now, Billy Lieb is, when I'm in a visionary state, we're talking to what, some sort of an extraterrestrial or part of my subconscious that appears to be Bill. So you know how everybody's coming out of the closet about their sexual condition? I'm a this sexual, I'm a that asexual. I must be Billy sexual because I'm only attracted to guys that remind me of Billy, you know? And so that's kind of what Bill Lieb has going for him, is he is supposedly Billy and Bill Lieb are supposedly the same person, except that in the visionary state, you know, Bill Lieb isn't consciously present as a soul. So he's not accountable for Billy's kind words that he loved me and all this type of thing. So he's not responsible for those sentiments, but it's what drives me to want to have wanted to contact them, is there's the adorability factor. Now, one thing I was told in the visionary state, in 98, I had that call from Rosie where she was telling me I have the soulmate, I need to contact him. I was telling her, well, you know, I've never liked the idea of getting married. It seems like marriage to me is misery, because I see people like my mom and dad, they fight like cats and dogs, you know, they're not, you know, it sounds like getting married's about getting beat up and yelled at, so I don't think I'm that interested unless I meet just the right person. But she was telling me, you know, so I'm in a visionary state again, we're talking extraterrestrials that look like somebody I know, and explaining to me that, you know, we are an interdependent species. We are not made to be alone. So that's what we need to understand. Is, you know, all these people are like, go love yourself, you know. You just need to go love yourself. That's true, you know. You really do need to make sure you're number one in everything you're doing for yourself. So that way you can be of service to others who you love. So now, also, you remember you're an animal. Now, we have 3 parts of our brain. We are an animal or a reptile fundamentally, but then there's the limbic brain and the neocortex. The neocortex facilitates this intellectual conversation about science and nature, whereas the limbic is what makes us a warm-hearted, fuzzy animal. So that's what you'll notice when we went from being a reptile to being a warm-blooded, fuzzy animal, or maybe even feathery animals, a much warm-hearted animal. And you might notice these kind of animals, they sit side by side, like they're not lovers or anything. You'll see 2 birds sit down touching. You'll see your cats lay down with their backs together. You should see my dad's ferrets. When they go to bed, they all make a big ferret wheel. They all lay touching. So mammals and birds as well, they need to be touched. You really need to be hugged and kissed. And so the problem with my Billy condition is it's keeping me single. So it really helps if you find the right partnership, whether they're romantic or not. Like living with Rosie and Gary really taught me a lot about partnership and about loving other people. Like she really adored her boyfriend Gary so much, she just wanted to hug him and kiss him all the time, right? Well, that enabled her to help him through some of the yuckiest problems in his life, because he was always getting injured and having these, you know, kind of yucky personal problems. So she helped him take care of his health and do everything he needs, up to including wiping his ass for him. And so that's how I feel about Bill Lieb sometimes, is I feel like he's such an adorable guy. Like I was saying in my last video, I just want to hug him and kiss him right in that big old forehead, because he always kind of looks at you like this. You just kind of want to grab him by his head and go, mwah, you know, like I could, like, so that's where I kind of joke a little bit about Bill Lieb and Jeremy having a little secret. But I think, you know, the big secret is what Jeremy had going for him is the adorability factor. He was just an adorable young man. And when Bill Lieb got to know him, I think there was a sense of adoration there that helped him to want to, you know, give Jeremy an opportunity to be part of one of the greatest electronic industrial bands in the world, you know. So I think he gave Jeremy a really great opportunity to travel the world and be part of a professional outfit, you know. And I think it had, you know, he was a good bandmate as far as, you know, being helpful and getting work done, and probably a really nice guy. But I can tell you one ingredient is he had the adorability factor, and that's where I felt like, you know, Bill Lead kind of has that for me very strongly. It's like, and the problem is though, is it's I just feel like, you know, I can't get this person off of my mind. So that's what I'm trying to get people to understanding is the visionary state stuff. It kind of really helped plant a strong seed, and it's kind of like it's made an impression on me to the extent like this has always been the ideal boyfriend to me. And that's where, like, you know, it makes sense that somebody like me would be interested in someone like that rather than, you know, these, you know, materialistic yuppie women that don't really know anything about the Cultural Revolution and all the music and everything. And, you know, so it's where, like I should be impartial to all that stuff, but there's a big part of me that I really wish I could have made the connection, and I'm really heartbroken that we didn't make the connection, and I'm really heartbroken that he has other attachment, you know, like, so when I come around Bill, he was attached to the wife, obviously, you know, somebody that met him a long time ago, so I gotta respect that, you know, if somebody loves that person that much, takes a special person, takes a special woman. So, but then finding that girlfriend, like, I felt like she had no business being here, like, she's the imposter, and I felt I have to, so, you know, having this impression, like, this is my ideal boyfriend, this is supposedly my soulmate, right? And watching him be consumed by these other people, like, she would only go with the guy if he has money. These people are consumers to me. They what they use sexual enticement, you know? So, like, the whole act of using sexual enticement to get the man to want to be with you, and then you just want somebody who pays a lot of money for you. To me, it's such a shallow place to be, you know. So, I mean, she could be a much better person than we think, you know. But my experience from her was that she was a terrible person. And to see, you know, my, you know, so-called soulmate being consumed by these type of women or kept from me. And then the ex-wife is probably, you know, I don't know. I mean, they gotta respect this person. They have an old friendship. But for all I know, this lady is just like the kind of person who will milk him for all he's worth. That's the impression I get. I just feel like he's somebody that's used to meeting people who would milk him for all he's worth. He doesn't really know what it's like to meet somebody who just wants to be giving. And I don't really know what you can give somebody if they got all the money they need, they got all the pussy they need. But, you know, but if, the thing that I have, that I understand is, the idea of staying full-hearted is very important, you know. So, like, this is part of my spiritual studies as well. For spiritual survival, you need to remain full-hearted. And this is one of those things that really challenges me, because it does, I feel like it's definitely spiked my ability to love and have compassion. But at the same time, it's really challenging because it's, you know, it's better to have loved, you know. Like, you might not get who you love or get what you want out of somebody you love. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't have loved them. So that's okay. It's fine that I love that person and all that stuff. But the mistake you're making is if you expect them to love you back and expect anything else other than them to be friendly enough to say hi. Apparently, you know, that's the mistake you could be making. So absolutely nothing wrong with having love and compassion in that light, you know. And for me to think somebody like that is the ideal person for me, or to think, you know, he could have been my soulmate and I could plant him a big kiss in his big wrinkly forehead. There's nothing wrong with that, other than thinking, you know, if I expect this person to love me back, you gotta be foolish. So there's a difference between being full-hearted, and there's a difference between that and being fool-hearted. So, so nothing wrong with that. So at any rate, I wanted to express how, one of the insights maybe that comes along with the visionary state, the narrative, all these circumstances, you know, I think there's a good lesson in it, you know, for the spiritual, on that you do need to find things that keep you full-hearted, and that you do need the companionship of others. That's why having a cat or a dog is a good companion, because they provide unconditional love that you don't often find from other people, because people come along with way too much intellect and expectations to the extent that it's shutting down our ability to be more limbic and loving to other people. And so, you know, I feel like something you don't hear very many people say about Bill Leeb is that I loved his curly cues, because seeing his hair like that and seeing that resemblance of Billy, somehow it's funny that it adds compassion, because you see that I think that who we truly are the kids, you know. So like some of the jokes over here, you see I have a very childlike personality, you know. I'm kind of silly. I'm a silly goose, you know. So I think it's really important to hang on to your childlike qualities, the ones that give you a sense of humor, the ones that give you an open mind. So there's a difference between having that good, healthy, childlike nature that helps you to stay open and creative, and being, you know, immature, like, you know, maybe we need to grow up, that kind of thing. So you don't want to be childish, and, you know, I don't want to pitch a fit. I didn't get my way, I'm going to pitch a fit. Well, you know, so I don't want to be that kind of person, you know. But I definitely want to express my experience and my point of view and some of my insight on some of the things I've gone through. And as I do so, I want it to be understood that Bill Leeb is somebody that I do feel a lot of love and compassion for, but not necessarily somebody who I feel has actually reciprocated any of that to any extent that I find, you know, believable. I really feel like, you know, it's more like how I am, and, you know, I take care of customers all day long. I feel like to him, I'm just a fan. He's like, hey, thanks for being my fan. Have a nice day, you know, like, because I do that all day long, you know, like, thanks for shopping at Huckland. Hope to see you next summer, you know, like. So it's like, you know, he's friendly, but I don't really feel like Bill has a great deal of love and compassion for me. And so, you know, I don't see him as somebody that's been a friend to me, and he's somebody that has actually, you know, he's got people around him that I feel like they put me down, and that's who he takes sides with, you know. So that's where we're at, is I don't feel like he's really on my side. So to me, you know, I think it's been a major lesson in love and compassion, like to be able to accept that you can love somebody and you can have a lot of compassion for them, you know. And in some cases you get the satisfaction of being engaged with that person, and you might get the satisfaction of doing for them, and maybe even get the satisfaction of hugging on them, planting those big kisses. You might get all that satisfaction, and sometimes you just don't, you know. And that's why I think, you know, Bill Leeb's like my bird, you know. That very last picture I have of me and my goose, I had to chase it around the pond. You know, he could be a flighty animal, like, it's not a reliable pet like your dog and cat. When you come home, your dog is reliably gonna wag its tail and snuggle. But that bird, one day he's my friend, one day he's not. And that's where, you know, I feel like Bill Leeb is not a reliable friend, you know. Like, he's like that bird. He might pick up the phone and say hi to me, and any other time he's like that bird, and I feel like you gotta chase it down if you want to pet it. And then once you catch it, it seems like you're old friends again. You're like, oh, hey, how you doing? Yeah, we're old friends. But once you set that bird down and it runs away, it's back to the game of chase, you know. So it's taken me years to process, you know, how come I'm being sucked into visionary state, introduced to Billy Leeb, find him to be such an adorable man, then in reality, as Carol Ann, the lady he remarried, she said, well, he's just not emotionally available to you, so therefore you giving somebody that much energy in itself is absolutely insanity, right? So she's right about that. Why would I give so much energy to someone who's not emotionally, he's not emotionally available to anyone, so I don't feel jealous either. So at that point, you know, it's like, why do you love your pet iguana so much? Or why do you even love that bird so much? I don't know. Maybe you can love them because they're beautiful and something like that. But it's not going to give you, it's not going to reciprocate, you know. So, anyways, I heard an interesting lecture today, which I thought was important confirmation, is that you really do need to stay full-hearted, you know. Whether it applies to me or not in this instance with Bill Leeb, you know, I feel like if he was here, you know, like
I feel like it helps give me that full-heartedness, you know, be able to hug a person like that. If I had the neighbor's cat jump in my lap right now and hug it, that's really, you know, it would fill my heart, you know, if I had that person here and we could hug again. You know, I hugged them a couple times and I feel like it's just a very limbic experience, you know, and that, you know, I feel like there's definitely the exchange of love energy. And but like that's where I feel like I may never see this person again. I feel like he probably doesn't even care if I live or die. But even then, if he was standing here right now, I would definitely be happy to hug him and have a limbic exchange of love energy. And you know, it's very nourishing as a mammal, and it's also very nourishing as a soul to exchange that love. So you know, if you're somebody who's watched this video to the end and this is something that you're trying to process too, is, you know, how you love the people around you, or, you know, how much they love you back. It's really important that you can kind of be the one that, I do this energy because it's like we're bring down from heaven and out through the heart. You know, it comes out through our words. You know, we want to put this together, bring it out this way. Otherwise, you know, we tend to be a more intellectual type of person if you're part of the industrial music community, and I think that's kind of a remnants of the beat generation. We're more of an intellectual counterculture, and it's really easy for us to lose our ability to operate from the heart. You know, that sounds like hippie talk. That seems to be more of a hippie agenda, but both are true. You want to be a very intelligent person. You want to strive to be knowledgeable and all that stuff. So that's impressive. We really love to meet well-read people. We really love to meet knowledgeable people. But if this person doesn't have a heart and they make you feel sad all the time, then what good is all their fucking knowledge anyways? If their intellect and all their impressive, you know, if they get a PhD, who gives a fuck? If all this person does is leave you feeling empty in your heart, you know? So if you're an intelligent person, then you need to understand what it means to be full-hearted and to nourish that in others, you know? So the interaction you have with people, you should try to, you're going to raise their frequency or whatever, how their vibration. You just give a little bit, you know. I wish people well all day long, you know. I hope they have a good day. I hope they enjoy the pie they ate, you know. I hope they, you know. And you gotta mean it, you know. You don't just say it to be nice. You don't patronize people. You gotta find a way from your heart to say, I love you. My Kempo teacher back in Key West, he was telling me, you know, one of the most important things I'm gonna learn, it's gonna make me a better martial artist, is love, you know, to be able to smile through my heart. So different teachers have been telling me this is what you need to learn. To say I love you, but to mean it too. So like if I'm telling you, hey, I love you, you can take it for face value, because I certainly don't give those words away. I don't give away very many hugs either. So if I've been saying I love you, and if I love you very much, you can guarantee it, and you can take it for face value. At any rate, ooh, that curly Q. Let me tell you about that curly Q. So I thought of that after seeing Billy with his hair growing out. And it's just a funny, so on one hand I'm talking about, I've been going to Visionary State, and it shows me what can be done. You can see the future, you can have things trick your mind into making you think. Like, I've met Bill Lee growing up, you know, so I realize it's a vision, but you know, it's like, it really helped me develop an unusual sense of love and compassion for somebody who I'd probably never meet otherwise, and somebody who may never actually reciprocate that, but that's okay, you know. So like, I guess I have to come out of the closet and say, hey, I guess I'm, you know, I'm not gay, I'm just billy-sexual, because like other, you know, people think I'm homosexual because, you know, I'm not interested in any of the guys that want to be with me and stuff like that. But again, I have to figure out a way to cope, because we're not meant to be alone. We are an interdependent species, and you do need to be able to hug somebody and share love with people. So that's where I really feel like I want to change my life this summer, you know, and like find a way to either be in contact with Bill and just like establish a real friendship with him, or I have to find a way to like get this person off my mind, because it's keeping me from being able to care about other people as much. But it could be something that, you know, kind of helps get me started, you know. Maybe that's a good thing, is maybe it help to ignite a low flame, you know, like throw some, what you call some kindling. Throw some kindling in the fire. So Billy really helped to throw some kindling in the fire. And so the thing is I can't let any, so when you're a fire keeper, for example, like if you're part of some tribal ceremony, they'll have somebody stay up all night and keep fire. So if everybody else is sleeping, you know, somebody's keeping fire. And so something I was told by one of the elders is when you're the fire keeper and there's the fire, there'll always be something to put this fire out. So that's what spiritual survival is about. Staying full-hearted. It's like keeping that fire. Because when you're an empty vessel, then you're open to anything. It could be good or bad. That's what takes people into the dark side, is not keeping full-hearted. So this is my challenge this year, is to be able to come to terms with the possibility that I may always spend the rest of my life alone, you know? Like, never going to be married. Never gonna have that romance in my life. But, you know, I'm gonna have to depend more on friendships with people that are like my brothers and sisters, my aunts and uncles. Those kind of friends are very special. If you have friends like that, sometimes you'll never have that friendship with people in your bloodline. Like, I don't really know my family. I stay in touch with my mom and dad. The rest of them don't want nothing to do with me. And Rosie and Gary were more like family than my family. Most of them have been. So some of your real family are just the people you meet in life that you can get along with. If I go to Denver, Colorado, I'll be staying with somebody that's like a brother to me. And having friends like that mean a whole world to me. So as far as I'm concerned, this friend should be rated more valuable than this guy Bill, right? This is somebody who does love me for who I am and willing to give me a chance to have a safe haven to come home to, and willing to give me a chance to start over. Alright, you guys, I don't usually make videos past an hour, but man, I feel like I've had a lot to get off my chest, because on one hand, I'm saying, hey, guess what, I've had an unusual amount of love and compassion for this dude, Bill. I don't really know him that closely. It's kind of, a frustrating, situation I've been put through. It's really been like, it's like a bittersweet experience where I felt like, it's something that really helped me to expand my heart. But at the same time, it's been a heartbreaking experience to kind of have him be kept away from me. It's been a heartbreaking experience to find that he has a pretty low opinion of me. And it's really heartbreaking that, to think that this is somebody that I can't really make a connection with, and to be able to enjoy their friendship and companionship at any level. Super heartbreaking, and it's something that, I'm just gonna have to accept that this is the visionary state has tricked me for some reason. Maybe it was a good reason, but I'm not gonna get anything I was offered, you know. I can't expect anything from it. The only thing I can expect is never hear from this person again. I expect never to see them again, and I don't expect them to do anything for me. That's all I can expect. The only thing I can do is be comfortable with myself, you know, and not be ashamed about it, you know. Like, so a lot of these people dealing with their gender identity things, their sexual preferences, I've been trying to learn not to be ashamed of it, and other people are learning not to bully them for it. But I have a different problem. I've fallen in love with somebody because I had these visionary state experiences where it made me develop an unusual amount of love and compassion for someone who I don't really know and who I'm probably never going to know. Super embarrassing. I feel like it's just about ruined my life, you know, and that's where I thought, you know, maybe I should just, you know, drop out and just disappear on people. I just feel like I should change my name and identity and disappear, you know, because I really hate, you know, the way people see me now. People all think, you know, there's something wrong with me, so it's ruining my life. And that's why I really need to get over it or come to terms with it or something like this. At any rate, I'll be back to share more about my life experiences and the emotional roller coaster that I've been on. And I will talk to you soon. If you actually listened to the end of this video, thank you for watching. I love you, appreciate you. Have a good day.